A very logical evening, everyone, and welcome to the first VIOM uh, of the year. We are preparing for CLAT 23. So here we go. Today we are discussing the English language section, and I really hope that you found it at least easy to moderate, which I think it is, and you have done extremely well. So let's start off. So we are looking at passage number 1. If I look at this particular passage, it was pretty easy to read. In terms of understanding would have been easy. There is no ambiguity in terms of the words that have been used. There is no confusion per se in understanding this. So this I put in the category of easy, and of course it is more on the lines of contemporary, and of course it's on Hollywood, a very well-known name. So let's go ahead with the questions. So which among the following can be inferred as false from the passage? Okay, let's look at it. Hollywood right now is building up to work against artists. Artists are more likely to become increasingly less critical of the US government as it will affect their livelihood. Hollywood censorship is now done in China, and so there won't be much criticism of the Chinese actors. And the internet is no more the decentralized technology it started off as. So if I look at this particular question, it seems to be pretty straightforward. If you have read the passage carefully, which you should have, this would have been very easy to infer. So yes, A can be inferred pretty easily. B can be inferred as well. Now, it is saying that censorship is now done in China, while the passage talks about Hollywood now obeys Chinese censors. Now, obeying Chinese censors, does that mean the censorship is done in China? Definitely not. So, hence, this is going to be the answer. And let's look at D. The internet is no more the decentralized technology it started off as. So, this can also be inferred. Now taking you to the passage, now this is the place from where we can infer that the statement number C is incorrect. Obeys Chinese censors pretty much. Now where can I infer the other options? Reduce the Hollywood is to gain market power and then reduce the bargaining leverage of artists. So basically it is working against artists. Now less pay to artists. Again, we are looking at anti-artist functioning that is happening there. And then we talk about the part where the people as such are not going to, what do I say, speak out against the US government. Now, which used to be the most decentralized, which used to be. If I say it used to be, that means it is no more. Hence, this is again something that we can infer easily. Now, this is the part where from where we can, infer the statement B, where we say that it is less likely artists criticize the state or powerful corporations. Here, the state is, of course, we are talking about the government, so the US government. So all of these can be inferred, and the one that cannot be inferred, one that has been basically distorted to confuse you, is the one that has been, emphasized in bold and italics. Let's go to the next one. Why does the author compare Netflix with a monster? So you can go through the options. You already have the sheet. You can download it from the net and go through it. You can always pause the explanation wherever you need to in order to refer the sheet and come back. So it's all according to your convenience. Now let's look at this. So it is saying that author has compared Netflix because Netflix is trying to retain subscribers with a convenient service but not providing good enough content. This part cannot be, because according to him, Netflix is trying to control how the viewers find content, possibly because according to him, Netflix is trying to gain quick popularity by holding rights to the branded content. Holding rights is a question mark, because according to him, Netflix is censoring any content going against the US or China government. Now this is not about Netflix, it was about Hollywood. So frankly speaking, A and D have been eliminated. What is left is B and C. Now, is Netflix trying to gain quick popularity? Doesn't seem so. Hence, what is left is B. Hence, answer is going to be B, and it can be inferred directly from the passage. Right? Let's look at it. Netflix isn't anything special. It's just a good infrastructure service which has morphed into a transfer monster attempting to control our access to the content. So only thing it is trying to do is control our access to the internet or access to the content. Let's go to the next one. The passage can be best described as expository, argumentative, rhetorical, sarcastic. So there is no element of sarcasm. I can remove this. Rhetorical, there are no rhetorics that the author has used, so this can be eliminated. What is left is A and B. Now, expository basically means just stating facts and not taking not opining about anything. So that is what is going to be expository. Now here, if you look at the first sentence of the passage, the author starts off by saying that the only goal now in Hollywood is to gain market power in distribution, or must have content production, and then use that monopoly power to reduce the quality of output and reduce the bargaining leverage of artists. यहीं से उसने अपना opinion दे दिया है with respect to what the Hollywood is doing. So it is definitely not expository. That leaves us with the option argumentative. Now, why is it argumentative? Now, it is argumentative because the author has taken a stand and he has given reasons and justifications for his stand. Hence, this is argumentative. Let's look at the fourth one. It is talking about identifying the central theme of the passage. So, is it that big corporations like Netflix, Disney, and more are actively working against the original idea of Hollywood? Disney is a part of Hollywood, right? Disney is the corporation that we are talking about. Okay. Actively working against the original idea of Hollywood. Seems to be true because it does find mention in the passage. Let's look at others. The US government is making policies to control Hollywood and therefore the choices of the artists. ये तो possible नहीं है, because it's not that the US government is making policies to control Hollywood. So this can be easily eliminated. C says a radical decentralization of the Hollywood industry is the only way to save it from the predatory corporations and government. Now, it is not the only way that the author has suggested. There are other ways and other means that he has talked about, so it cannot be the answer. So what is left is A and B. Now, A and D. Why would I go with D is because the author has definitely started off by saying that Hollywood is no longer working the way it was meant to, the way it was created to. He started off by saying that, and towards the end, he comes up and says, can Hollywood be saved? Right? If we go to that sentence which says, can Hollywood be saved? He says that a resounding yes. And then he goes on to explain what is happening or what can be done to revive Hollywood back to its old intention that it had to make movies. So if I look at this particular option, Hollywood network here will mean the entire ecosystem of Hollywood. It would mean your production, distribution, artists, everything. It will include the network is everything that's there, the logistics part, everything that is right from birth of an idea to the execution of the idea to the point that it goes to the customer. So yes, the entire ecosystem is moribund. Moribund is dying or losing effectiveness, is on the deathbed, and but can be resuscitated. Now, resuscitate is to bring back to life. So yes, it is dying, but it can be saved. Hence, answer is B. That is the focus of the author. There we go. It's talking about how things have become bad, and then we can come to the part when he says that Hollywood can be saved is a resounding yes, and then he is talking about how it can, basically do it. So we should aim to restore open markets for content again. So this in order to do that, you will separate out the in industry into production, distribution, and retailing. We should probably ban predatory pricing, so isn't dumping into the market. And then we should probably begin a radical decentralization of chains and studios. So he has given various means. The only way के context में नहीं आ रहा है. So these are all the things that he recommends doing. Now let's go to the next one. Now, if I look at this particular question, which says that in the sentence, in 2015, the US-China Security Review Commission noted that Hollywood now obeys Chinese censors pretty much all films, even those made and distributed solely in the West. Which among the following figures of speech has been used? So we have the figures of speech mentioned is metonymy, metaphor, synecdoche, and antithesis. Now, if I look at it, I'll have to analyze this question and see if a figure of speech has been used. There is no figure of speech in this. Eliminate. The US and China Security Commission Review Commission, there is no figure of speech there. जो है वैसे ही बोला हुआ है. Noted that. ये भी वैसा ही है. Hollywood seems to be now obeys Chinese censors. This is also as it is, all films, even those made and distributed solely in the West. Okay, so we have the word, the figure of speech that has been used here is metonymy. Now, what is metonymy? Metonymy is basically when I use a word to replace the original word, and the word that I've used to replace is closely associated to it. So, what is the part here? We are talking about US cinema. This is Hollywood is the word that can replace US cinema, and they are closely associated, US cinema and Hollywood, right? So this is a metonymy. Metaphor है नहीं, there is no comparison that has been done. Now there is something that is called synecdoche, but synecdoche, what happens is that I use a part of a bigger thing to convey the thing. Like for example, let's take the example of car, right? If I say these are my wheels, so wheels is basically a synecdoche, a part of the car, right? A part of the car. So I have a part that I use to convey the entire whole thing. So that is my Synecdoche. But instead of saying my wheels, if I say, oh, here is my ride. The ride is a word that is replacing car completely, and it is not that ride is associated with car. Ride is associated with car, but it is definitely not a part of the car. So that is your metonymy and Synecdoche. Antithesis is the exact opposite, that has not been mentioned here. Now, you have solved 5 questions so far, and given the level of questions and all, you should at least get 4 correct, if not 5 on 5. And if you manage to solve only 4, all 4 should be correct. Going on to the next one. Now, passage 2 is on mythology, and if I look throughout, if you just run your eyes down randomly, there's one word that keeps popping up the whole time, and that is Trojan horse. So it is quite clear that this passage is based on Trojan horse. So let's look at the questions. The question is asking us, what is the primary purpose of the passage? Is it to demonstrate how the original truth is distorted in the myths to favor the victor? They're nowhere talking about favoring the victor. Hence, this option is eliminated. B says to analyze the real life events behind the concept of Trojan horse. Possibility to show the naivety and simplicity of people of Troy who got fooled by the Trojan horse. That is definitely not the central idea, or that is definitely not the focus of the author. He's not writing this entire passage just to convey this. Hence, this can be eliminated. To show how fiction is often based on real life events. It's not fiction, it is a myth. So this cannot be my answer. Hence, answer is B. Now, why is it an analysis? Let's look at it. He has offered a number of explanations and is trying to find where did this particular Trojan horse word or a phrase, came up from. What is the origin? What could be the real life event behind that? So he has talked about so many events. We are talking about was really a giant. So he has basically, quoted everyone. He has quoted Tim Severin, then he has quoted Michael Wood, he has quoted, David Gimmels, and then he has quoted the final volume of Trilogy, and so on. So basically, he is looking at various stories or various accounts. I would go for the word accounts. He is basically exploring many accounts to find out what actually Trojan horse was, what was the real event on the basis of which this particular Trojan horse came into existence. Hence, answer is definitely B. He is analyzing. Let's say, look at the question number 7. The author mentions all of the following as a possibility of Trojan horse, except it could have been ship, found it. It could have been a troop, found it. It could not have existed, found it. Now, a peace offering nahi hai. The word that has been used is tribute, a gift, a gift of appreciation, not a peace offering. Hence, answer is going to be C. Let's look where. Now, if I look at it, the one that is in red, the sentence that is in red is the where you get your answer as C, which is incorrect, and the ones that are bold and italicized as the one where you get the correct ones. So definitely, the first context talk about a ship. It was a ship mentioned. It could have been troop, yes, an elite platoon or regiment mentioned, And then maybe there was no Trojan horse, so maybe it did not exist either. So all have been mentioned except the C one. Let's go to the next one. Which of the following statements cannot be inferred as true as per the passage except? Now, there is no need to get confused in such kind of questions. Cannot be inferred, except will mean something that can be inferred, right? Let's look at it. Physical objects used to be given animal names in ancient Greece. So battering ram hua, ship hua, we just went through that. So this seems to be true. The Trojan horse could be a pun used to describe Greek soldiers disguised as Trojan soldiers. Seems to be true. Myths could be considered the earliest form of historical recordings. Yes, I do find a mention of it, hence answer should be D. Now again, let's go there. Now if I look at this particular thing, passage, if you look at complete passage, he is talking about physical objects, those all have been mentioned, but we'll have to go to this particular part where there is mention of history. One is this. So it is a possibility according to history that Trojan or horse could have been a poetic name, right? Now we are talking about end of the passage where this particular sentence has been mentioned, but the link between history and myth remains fascinating one, even though our explanations may end up being as deceptive as the Trojan horse itself. So this is a part where I can infer that if there is a link establish कर रहे हो तो कहीं ना कहीं कोई तो connection है ही. Hence I can infer the option B as in the statement 3, which says that myths could be considered the earliest form of historical recordings. Let's go to the ninth one. Which of the following best expresses the attitude of the author in the passage? Is it derisive? Derisive matlab looking down on people, debasing, being critical, being unfair, being arrogant of all those category? No, definitely not. Analytical, persuasive, explanatory. Now, definitely, but explanatory could have been a possibility, but he is not really explaining anything in detail, or he's not talking about one thing, so I'll eliminate this. Now, persuasive would have been possible if he had taken a stand that it really existed and these are the reasons why I say it existed. He has not done that. So what is left is analytical. And if you had paid a little attention or had been a little careful, then you would have known that the same kind of question has been rephrased in the previous one, where question number 6, which is asking us what is the primary purpose of the passage, and there we identified that it is to analyze the real life events. So obviously if he is analyzing it, then the tone is going to be analytical. And you should get such kind of things, questions correct. You just need to be a little focused and use your presence of mind. It's just a matter of common sense. Let's go to the next one. Which among the following cannot replace the word sneaky in the passage? Now, what does sneaky mean? Sneaky means doing things secretively, doing things in a way, hoping that people will not notice you or you will not get caught. So, surreptitious, similar, clandestine is secretive, and furtive is again done something in a very sneaky manner. Hence, answer is going to be overt. Overt is basically in a way opposite of sneaky. Overt is something that is very open, something that is done without any, underhanded tactics, something that has been done openly. Let's go to the next one. Now we are looking at passage 3, and it should have been an interesting read. And obviously, you are not there to get entertained by the passage. You are meant to read the passage carefully, carry the understanding over to the last question of that particular passage. So, obviously, this is on hungry, and it is more of a psychology based passage than anything else, right? And very simple too. There's nowhere, even the language is not all that formal. He has used it in a very, like a conversation. So let's look at the questions. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the passage except? So we have to cannot be inferred except will mean something that can be inferred. So let's look at the options. We have the option number 1, the concept of hunger existed long before it received scientific recognition. Seems so. When one abstains from eating, it can lead to aggressive driving. Yes, it can be inferred. Fasting can lead to learning disabilities in children. Now, we do not know whether it leads to learning disabilities or not. So, it cannot be my answer. My answer should be A, where we are talking about 1 and 2. Now, why? Now, you know where you get the correct one. This might be the first study to get out of the lab and probe people's day-to-day lives, but statistics have long pointed towards hunger existing. So it existed, the study ne abhi bataya. That's a point that have been made. And then we have in Muslim countries, road rage incidents are more frequent during Ramzan that we call here, right? It is there. Not eating leads to low blood sugar, which increases aggression. So that can be another aggressive driving. So what is left is the third one. Now, the author has not used the word learning disabilities. He is focused on are less likely to earn effectively and more likely to have behavioral problems. So, if I say less likely to learn effectively, that does not translate into having learning disability. Fine, let's go to the next one. As per the passage, which of the following is the result of hunger except? Truculence, that is belligerence, combativeness, aggression, the fight mode mentioned. Delusions, yes. Hallucination, minions ka mention hai, wherein the minion looks at his friends and they look like bananas to him. Derangement, don't know. Impaired cognition, yes, it can be inferred from the lines where it says that not only do we hallucinate, but then it affects our decision making ability as well. So, what is impaired cognition? Impaired cognition will mean that your ability to think is impaired. Hence, this can be eliminated. This can be also inferred. Now, derangement is something that cannot be inferred. Derangement का मतलब होता है पागलपन. So नहीं, कुछ लोग भले ही पागलों जैसे बात करें, but उनको पागलपन नहीं हो जाता, as in they don't become insane on a permanent basis, neither on impermanent basis. It's nowhere mentioned in the passage. Let's look at the 13th one. Now the part which are italicized and bold are the ones where you get your answers. Now let's go to the question next, which is asking us what is the purpose of the passage. Let's see what is the purpose of passage. It is to expound why hunger can make people unreasonable and violent. Possible? Okay. To state how lack of food makes one focus only on food and reduces decision making ability. This is simply one point that the author has made. So this cannot be the entire purpose. So I eliminate this. C says to establish why fasting or underfed children learn less and how school meal need. Again, this is just one of the point that the author has mentioned. So this cannot be the primary purpose. So what is left is D. D says to explain why it is highly important to keep our guts tamed with food at the right time. And then A says to expound why Hunger can make people unreasonable and violent. Now, difference is, it is option A is saying that the author explains why hunger can make people unreasonable and violent. That has been mentioned only in one sentence, right? But what is the main point that the author wants to convey? You go towards the end and you see it. If I look at the last few sentences of the passage, that sums it up. It says that as for us adults whose moods darken when we have got munchies, don't look back in hunger, have a sandwich and feel happy. Happy, that is full and happy. So basically adults का context आया है, but उतना ही children के लिए दिया है कि नहीं खाएंगे तो क्या होगा. So focus यहाँ क्या है कि क्यों hunger इरिटेट करता या क्यों हंगर के कारण लोग इरिटेबल हो जाते हैं, या फोकस इज दैट इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट टू ईट व्हेन the time is there or when the time is right to eat. So hence answer is going to be D. That is the focus. Let's look at it. The rest all are basically there's only one point where Y has been mentioned. Some theories suggest that low blood sugar increases while diminishing our decision. Yes, that's only one point. But if I look at throughout, he's talking about because of these reasons, you need to make sure that you eat when you are hungry. Let's go to the next one. What is the tone of the passage? Compassionate, caustic, critical, analytical. Is he criticizing someone, something? No, he has just taken the word hunger and is, talking about what hunger is all about and what happens and so on and so forth. So it's not D. Analytical seems to be the answer. Caustic, is he being sarcastic? No. Compassionate, whom is he sympathizing with? No one. Hence answer is going to be C. Okay, let's look at it. What does the author imply by got a metaphorical chip on the shoulder? Try grabbing some literal chips. Okay. Now, in order to answer this question, we need to understand this particular part. It's easy to understand when I say try grabbing some literal chips. Grab matlab utha lo, kha lo. Literal matlab asli, the real, or what I mean is the thing, kind of a thing. So chips, yes. So the entire answer depends on understanding a chip on the shoulder. Now, is that a metaphor or it has been used metaphorically? Number one, it is not a metaphor, it's an idiom. And this idiom has been used metaphorically here. So what does this idiom mean? The idiom means that you are in a combative mood, you are in a belligerent mood, you are, irritable all the time. The reason could be something else, but the crux of this idiom is that you are irritable, you are quick to fight, you are combative, you are aggressive. Fine. So if I look at it, he's saying that if you are irritable, try grabbing some literal chips. This will mean being irritable. So if you are irritable, eat something. That is what the author is trying to say. So it is better to eat chips than carry them on the shoulder. No, definitely not. And I'm sure that you had a smile on your face when you read that. A chip on the shoulder is a metaphor, but it has been used as a metaphor. It is not a metaphor. eliminated. If you're affable, you may not need to eat. If you're feeling friendly, don't eat, or you should not eat, or you may not eat. Wala context nahi hai. So what is left is C. And this is actually the entire thing around which the passage revolves. And ultimately, the point comes down to this part, that you need to eat at the right moment, at the right time, to keep your mind functioning properly. Let's look at the next one. We have the fourth passage here now, and the fourth passage is quite contemporary, and you have the source. You can go and read the entire article if you wish to. We have taken this particular thing with edits and revisions. So let's look at the passage. Now, passage as such was not very difficult. Yes, there is a lot of information given in the passage. So let's look at it. Which among the following best provides a central theme of the passage? So what is the central theme of the passage? Right? Is it studying fire practices in the natives of various countries? Yes. But is that the central theme? सिर्फ स्टडी करने के लिए किया गया है या कोई और रीजन है? This to me seems incomplete, because there's a reason why this study has been carried out. Taking ideas from indigenous people for civilized society. Okay. Now, taking ideas from indigenous people. So what kind of ideas? There is something that is very specific mentioned in the passage, that is the fire practices. Hence, B cannot be my answer. C says why the government of various countries stayed away from the fire practices. No, this is not there. So either it is A or D. A is basically incomplete. Why is it incomplete? Because the author's focus is they studied this so that this is the line I'm reading out. Please pay attention. And I'll take you to the passage itself. The UN has taken note of burning practices and techniques of indigenous people around the world as a method to control wildfire incidents. So basically the focus here was not just studying the fire practices, but it was to fight the fires, the wildfires that are happening, that have recently been, on the up all over the globe. So answer should be D, none of the above. Now you need to understand out here that even if you are solving it in, say, super fast, you need to be careful. You have to look and see whether that option that you have taken, is it actually covering the entire thing or not. The purpose is not simply to study, the purpose is to study and use those to fight the wildfires. Let's look at the next question. Now, this is the part I have, italicized and made bold the sentence from where I can infer the actual central idea or the primary purpose. Let's go to the next one. Which of the following can be a synonym of the word mitigation except? Now, mitigation has been used here, right? This is done through, so let's read what it is saying. In South America, indigenous knowledge is combined with science to protect indigenous territories from wildlife incidents. This is done through indigenous cultural burning for wildlife prevention, mitigation, wildfire prevention, mitigation and response network. So एक हो गया prevent करना, दूसरा हो गया mitigate करना, और तीसरा हो गया respond करना. So what will mitigate mean? Mitigate basically is to lessen. कोई भी चीज की इंटेंसिटी बहुत ज्यादा है, उसको अगर आप कम करते हो, that is mitigation. So mitigate is to lessen, L-E-S-S-E-N, not the O-N, but this one. Kam karna, right? So that will be the context that is given there. Controlling fire. Let's look at the parts. Attenuation is a synonym. Allayment, sorry. Allayment is a synonym. Allay, we use the verb form allay. Kam karna, you allay somebody's fear. Abatement is again the flood waters abated, go down, become less severe. Answer is going to be C. I'm sorry. Abeyance. Abeyance means a temporary suspension of any activity. Excuse me. Let's go ahead. Now, it can be inferred from the passage except. So we are looking for something that cannot be inferred. Natives of various nations are better at controlling wildfires than the civilized population. Now, can this be inferred? Yes, it can be inferred from the first sentence, because why would you study the firefighting practices or the practices of the indigenous people to control wildfires if the urban knew it or the other people knew it? You wouldn't do it. So this is something that can be inferred. Natives of various nations know ways to prevent a human from getting severely burnt. Yes, finds a mention. Natives of various nations prevent their houses from getting burned by calculating wind direction. Yes. So what the answer will be? D. No, from nowhere in the passage, I can infer that the natives believe that the fire gods that they worship save them from wildfire. Nowhere it is mentioned. The rest all I have italicized and made bold for you to take note of. So, indigenous and traditional knowledge of land management in many regions, particularly the use of fire to manage fuel, including for wildfire mitigation. Obviously, why would you do it? Another thing is burning practices and techniques of India around the world as a method to control wildfire incidents. Why would you go and study them if you already know that, right? Another thing is used burning to control wildfires. Agreed. Then they can also minimize the damages caused by fire to the human body. Another thing, I have never heard of a case of somebody's house in the tribal areas catching fire. So basically, they are able to manage fires very efficiently because unexpected on depends on the wind direction, and tribals are extremely good at sensing that. So all have been mentioned. Nowhere in the passage has been mentioned fire gods. Okay. Which among the following best describes the author's tone in the passage? Is it dispassionate, laudatory, didactic, critical? He is not criticizing anything. Didactic, he is not preaching either. He is not praising. I do not find any sentence that the author has made on his own about the topic. It is only and only the report that the author has quoted. Hence, it is going to be dispassionate. Dispassionate will mean not showing any emotions, being completely rational. Another word that could have fit this particular passage in terms of tone would have been expository, because author has not given his stand anywhere. Let's look at it. The UN has taken note of. The report noted that it can also ensure, it said the report gave, for instance, so ये सारे हो गए examples. The report noted that, for instance, फिर examples दिए report के ही. Ganesh and Devi told the down to earth. He noted, author ने कहीं कुछ कहा ही नहीं है. Hence, totally dispassionate. No feeling whatsoever. Expository. Or the other word would be factual. There is no tone at all to the author. So let's go to the question number 20th. The line, it can also ensure that biodiversity and culture, including understanding and traditional gender roles that can govern burning activities and ecological values, are respected, as well as create livelihood opportunities. Now, which part has a grammatical mistake? Now, remember that anything that comes within brackets or within commas are basically additional information. So that is something that is, just additional information about the word that comes before it. So if I read without this particular part, can I find the error? It can also ensure that biodiversity and culture and ecological values. So ecological is an adjective that has been used for values, and values eco type की है, that is culture. So this again needs to be in the adjective form, hence it will be cultural. So it will read, it can also ensure that biodiversity, it can also ensure that cultural values and ecological values are respected. So we need the adjective form of culture. Now we come to passage number 5, and as you know, this passage is again based on psychiatry actually, and it is on mental disorders. And according to me, this passage was one of the easiest passage of this particular mock, simply because the questions were pretty easy to solve. Had you paid a little attention while reading, which you should, you would have got all of them correct. So let's look at the questions. So question number 21 is asking us which of the following is not a factor that can be associated with the cause of mental illness. So basically we'll have factors that cause mental illness and one of them does not. So let's look at it. Can age be, or has age been mentioned? Yes, they have definitely talked about adolescence. So this is something that is a factor. Social status, yes, that affects the mental life of a person, mental well-being of a person. Deficiency of essential elements, yes, this can be inferred. So what cannot be inferred is cognition. Actually, mental illnesses can lead to impaired cognition, the lack of ability to think clearly, decide, and so on. So the rest all are mentioned. I'll take you to the passage from where I can understand this. So we have the answer for the essential. So we have essential element. So essential element is iodine, iron, and all those things. Yes. Changes in brain chemistry, mental retardation with iodine deficiency, something that is mentioned. The age one is mentioned here is, adolescence, and the reasons given are there. So again, something that can be inferred. Then we have social status. If we talk about it, mention social harm to the population due to lack of opportunity to lead a normal social life. Of course, something it in itself can be a cause for mental illness, and it can also be the result of mental illness. So there we have the part. And then we have question number 22. Which of the following best summarizes the reason for high psychiatric morbidity observed in adolescence? Now, I can safely eliminate the option B because it is talking, because this is the age of depression, not necessarily. Now, age of making career choices, no, doesn't find the option. You cannot infer it from the passage. And age to explore romantic relationships, again not mentioned in passage, hence answer is going to be A. And from where I can infer this, it's quite clear. It can be inferred from the last few lines where the author has mentioned that the highest level of primary psychiatric morbidity is observed in adolescence. At this age, every individual experiences the action of two strong natural processes: intense socialization and active physiological development of the psyche. In particular, an acute problem of adolescence is the lack of social adaptation, and which is exhibited. So basically, we know that from the passage that at this particular age, there is the active process of development of the mind or the psyche, the the feelings, the emotions, and the overall brain physiology. So at that particular point, the person is in a state of transit, right? There is a change that is happening in that person. So yes, from that I can infer that this is an age of transit, and also because there is a lack of social adaptation, and which can result in, or which results in, behavioral problems. Let's go to the question number 23. Which of the following is the most suitable title for the passage? And I'm sure you got that correct in one go. Answer will be, obviously we are looking at A, which is talking about a social problem, and it was a very easy to understand or identify from the passage as well. Now, irrespective of that, let's look at it. A grave social disability. Now, it is not a social disability, it is an individual disability causing social problems. A grave health disorder. No, it is not health. Had it been a grave mental health disorder, that could have been my answer. And nowhere are they talking about it being incurable, hence answer is going to be A. And if I look at the passage, it becomes very easy for me to infer, because throughout the passage, the author has talked about only one thing, that is actual and hot problem of modern society, normal social life, relations with the society, acute social problem of the modern society. So if you go it repeatedly, you will come across this word social, 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 social. So that makes it the perfect title. Now let's go to question number 24. The question that is asked is basically that why has the author called mental illness an acute problem, right? Now, why is it an acute problem? Just because it affects a large number of people? If something affects a large number of people, will that be considered acute? No. Acute in itself talks about the intensity, right? So intensity of the problem is what, or intensity of that particular disease is what it makes it into an acute disease. So simply being it simply affecting a large number of people cannot make it into a acute. So hence this is something that we can safely eliminate. B says because it impairs the affected individual's life in many ways. Yes. Because the highest level of primary morbidity in adolescent, no. And because such individuals should have a dignified life, that ultimately would be what the author will agree with, but then he has not called mental illness an acute problem because of this fourth option. So answer is obviously B, and this is the place from where I can infer it. Now taking you to this passage and highlighting the part. Now, acute social problem of the modern society which affects the lives of thousands of people. Now, the part out here which is going to help us is basically which affects, acute problem which affects. So it's simply affecting 1,000 of people. or rather, 1,000 of people having it is not acute. The acute is because it affects the lives of the people. Hence, answer is going to be D. Impairs the affected individual's life. Okay, let's go to the 25th one. In the light of the passage, which of the following cannot be false except? So we are looking for something that is false. Cannot be false will, see, never get confused or worried with such kind of options. They are pretty simple. Cannot be false makes it true, and except will make it into false. So a person's changed attitude towards life can cause mental illness in him. Food insecurity can lead to mental illness. Yes, food insecurity can lead to, anxiety. A woman who is a victim of domestic violence is likely to have mental illness. Again, something that can be inferred from the passage. A neglected child can be mentally ill. Again, something that can be inferred from the passage. So what cannot be inferred is A. It says that a person's changed attitude towards life can cause mental illness. Actually, the passage has mentioned it the other way around, that mental illness can change a person's attitude towards life. It's the other way around. Let me take you to the passage from where I can infer this, and I can infer all this and not this. There we go. Mental illness can change the person's attitude towards life, not the other way around. So, this is something that has been incorrectly mentioned in the passage. The second option was food insecurity. Extreme poverty can be a result of food insecurity, hence, there is a problem, right? Then we have stressful situations, poor education, violence. Violence at home translated into domestic violence. Yes, so that makes the woman victim of domestic violence as being correct, right? And then we have a neglected child can be. So we are talking about war displacement. Let's go, or let me highlight all the reasons that have been given. Alcohol and drugs. Now, frankly speaking, anything that has, that impacts you negatively can lead to mental illness. So, a neglected child can be mentally ill is something that can be easily inferred from these lines as well. Right? Let's go to the next one. 25th we have done. Now we come to the last passage. Now last passage is again a very easy one. It is talking about strength and very easy to read. There were only one or two words that could have been, you know a little difficult for you to comprehend, but had you noticed the context in which they had been used, it would have been still easy for you to identify them. So let's go. Question number 26, or question number 1 of the passage 6a asks, which of the following can be a suitable synonym for? And how is it pronounced? Not the way you did and then laughed about it. It's pronounced as chutzpah, right? Now, chutzpah is basically the confidence, the super confidence. I'm not talking about overconfidence, but I'm talking about super confident about oneself. Chutzpah, right? So, acrimony is not a synonym. Acrimony has nothing to do with this. Acrimony actually means hostility or bitterness in feelings. टेमेरिटीज, ये बाकी के जो वर्ड्स है ना, आप हिंदी में जिसको कहते हैं मजाल, दुस्साहस. The chutzpah is that confidence, having that confidence even in negative situation to deal with it, bordering on the overconfidence part. Hence, acrimony is not a synonym. The rest, all the words are its synonym. Let's go to the next one. Chutzpah has been mentioned here. If you have a flair for moxie or chutzpah, watch out for moments when you're imposing on others. Imposing on others. So basically, you're so into, doing what you are doing, super confident about yourself that you don't realize that people may not be really comfortable around you. Excuse me. Let's go to the next one. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? Managers all over the world can be categorized into 4 based on their strengths. Yes, can be inferred from the passage. An outstanding engineer speaking about their accomplishments in technologies while sitting in a group of artists may be shunned for being perceived as stupid. Yes, because you are not talking about your strength in the right moment. And that is what the passage has talked. Excuse me. Use your strength at the right moment, in the right context, in the right situation. That is the focus of the author. So, this will definitely be inferred. The majority of the people in the world are in dead end jobs where they are not working as per their potential. They are not talking about working as a potential or not. The passage is simply about strength. Hence, answer should be 1 and 2. And yes, it is 1 and 2. Now, very easy. Nowhere has the passage mentioned dead end jobs and potential. Now, I have italicized the sentences from where the other two can be inferred. Let's go to the next one. Question number 28. Which of the following can be the tone of the passage? Sympathetic? Is he sympathizing with anyone? No, there is no element of sympathy that is there. So I can eliminate this. Sardonic, is he mocking anyone, anything? No. Redolent. Redolent means fragrant. That cannot be the tone. So what is left is straightforward. He is being candid. जो है वो बोल रहा है. He's pretty straightforward. He is not holding anything back in terms of expression, in terms of whatever he has to say. Hence, answer is going to be straightforward. Let's look at question number 29. What is the main purpose of the passage? Is it to make people aware of the current propaganda against stable 9 to 5 jobs? No. To make people understand how strengths can become weaknesses when used in the wrong situation? Possibly. To make people understand strength and weaknesses are only perceptions of you and others, they don't actually exist? No. And he says to discuss opinions from some of the wisest people in history about no. Answer has to be B, and again it was very easy to identify. Now, let's go to the next one, the last question of the mock. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the passage about a person's strength? Cannot be inferred. Let's focus on this. So A says hyper focusing on one strong area may make other areas which could also be strong suffer. Yes, you find the mention of it, so this can be inferred. Often using our strength too much may become our biggest weakness and lead to failure. Yes, this is again something that can be inferred from the example of managers. Weakness is always the other side of the coin, that is strength. Now this is the word that will make me pause and cross check in the passage. And then I have success is only possible when one learns where to express one's strength. This seems to be the so answer has to be C, because weakness is always nahi hai. If I take you to the part where this finds its place in the passage, it is where it is a quote by Melinda Gates, जिसने कहा है often our greatest weaknesses are the other sides. Often, not always, but often. Now let's look at the other options from where I can infer those. Let's go to that particular part. We are talking about hyper focusing on one strong area may make other areas which could also be strong suffer, right? So from here, strengths are like muscles. If you focus only on your triceps, your biceps will suffer. So if you focus only on one strong area, the other could have been your strength, but you've made it suffer. And lead to failure. Yes, they are talking about this. Were overdoing at least one leadership behavior, and their strengths predicted which one. So they were so busy. They were so busy trimming the weeds. They paid too little attention to the big picture. So this is something that can be inferred, and but true power depends when and where. So if I look at this particular passage and talk about success in the context of the passage, so obviously success doesn't come from playing to your strength. It comes from playing your strength in the right situation. So success is possible when you know in which situation to use your strength. So there we go. We have this particular question sorted as well. So we have in all solved 30 questions, and if you have not managed to solve all 30 questions, you would have solved at least 25, say around 26 to 29 questions, if not all 30. And your score should be, if you get anywhere from say 23 to 25, I would call that excellent. Now, you know that you have to sit and analyze where you have gone wrong, find out the reason you went wrong, analyze your weakness so that we can work on that. Fine. And here's wishing you all the best, and see you in the second mock that is sure to happen. Have a very logical evening. Thank you.